Before the church was born, there was a secret buried in the hearts of those who shaped it, a truth so powerful that it has remained hidden for centuries. Can you imagine how the foundation of the Catholic Church, a force that has influenced over 1 billion souls, was not built solely on faith, but on a series of human decisions, political moves, and theological battles? The story we've been told about its origins is far from the whole truth. The history you've been taught, it's only one side of a much deeper, much darker narrative. Why did Constantine, a ruler of the Roman Empire, convert to Christianity? Was it out of genuine faith, or was it a carefully crafted move to solidify his power? And why, after centuries of persecution, did the very same church that once hid in the shadows now stand as the most powerful institution in the world? What were the decisions, the compromises, the betrayals that led to its rise? In this video, you will uncover the hidden truth about the creation of the Catholic Church. You will learn how the world's most influential institution was not just a product of divine will, but a creation of human ambition, conflict, and strategy. From the controversial Council of Nicaea to the debates over the nature of Christ, we'll reveal the untold stories of how these events shaped the Church as we know it today. This is the truth no one talks about, the secret that, once revealed, changes everything you thought you knew about the origins of Christianity. Stay with us as we delve deep into the heart of the Catholic Church's creation, exploring the mystery, the politics, and the power struggles that birthed the most influential religion in history. You won't believe how much has been hidden from you. Will you dare to look deeper into the creation of the Catholic Church? Keep watching, and you might just uncover the truth that could change everything you thought you knew about history, religion, and power. The origins of the Catholic Church are far more complex and intriguing than most people realize. The world's largest religion did not simply emerge from a single divine mandate, nor did it rise from a sudden epiphany. Instead, it was born out of a series of carefully calculated decisions made under immense pressure. When the early Christians found themselves oppressed and persecuted by the mighty Roman Empire, they were not just fighting for their faith, they were fighting for survival. They were a marginalized group, scattered and broken, and yet they would go on to create one of the most powerful institutions the world has ever known. The truth is, the Catholic Church didn't come into being because of a single moment of divine intervention or the guidance of a single man. No. Its foundation was the result of political maneuvering, strategic alliances, and the quiet, deliberate actions of those who understood the power of faith to shape not just souls, but entire civilizations. One man stands at the heart of this transformation: Constantine. But why did he, a Roman emperor, embrace Christianity so fully, and what was the true nature of his conversion? Was it faith, or was it a strategic move to secure control over an empire on the brink of collapse? Constantine's decision to convert wasn't a simple act of spiritual awakening. In fact, his conversion is one of the most significant political acts in the history of the Church. When he legalized Christianity through the Edict of Milan in 313 AD, it wasn't simply about offering religious freedom. It was about consolidating his power and uniting a fractured empire. Christianity, with its message of unity, became the perfect vehicle for Constantine's political ambitions. But was his conversion sincere, or was it a calculated move to gain influence and control? This question still haunts the history of the Church. Constantine's embrace of Christianity gave the faith legitimacy, but it also placed it under the influence of the Roman Empire. In this single act, the Church would go from being a persecuted faith to the favored religion of the empire. And yet, the creation of the Catholic Church wasn't a smooth and harmonious process. The Council of Nicaea, convened by Constantine in 325 AD, was one of the most pivotal moments in Christian history. It wasn't just about defining the nature of Christ. It was about establishing the Church's authority and its place in the political landscape of the empire. This council, marked by fierce debates and deep theological divides, ultimately led to the formation of the Nicene Creed, a statement of faith that would define Christian doctrine for centuries. But what many don't know is that the creation of this creed was not without conflict and violence. Many of the early Christian leaders were not just battling for theological truth. They were battling for power. Imagine, if you will, the scene. A group of Christian leaders, many of whom had endured unimaginable hardships under Roman rule, now found themselves in the position of defining the future of the Church. But it wasn't just about theological purity. It was about control. As the debates raged on, those who disagreed with the majority were often silenced, sometimes violently. The creation of the Catholic Church was not a peaceful, divinely inspired process. It was a political and theological war fought over the very soul of Christianity. At the heart of these conflicts was the question of authority. Who would hold the power to define the teachings of the Church? Was it the bishops, the emperor, or was it the people, the believers themselves? These questions weren't just philosophical, they were deeply political, and the answers had far-reaching implications, shaping the future of Christianity and the role of the Church in society. The power struggles within the Church were not only about preserving faith, they were about preserving power, about ensuring that those at the top could maintain their control over the growing Christian movement. But in the midst of all this conflict, a central question remained. What is the true nature of the Catholic Church? Is it an institution that embodies the original teachings of Jesus, or is it a creation shaped by centuries of human decisions, compromises, and political maneuvering? The answer to this question is not simple, and it's not just a matter of faith, it's a matter of history. The Catholic Church, as we know it today, is a product of both divine inspiration and human ambition. It is a powerful institution that has shaped the lives of billions, but it is also one that has been shaped by the hands of flawed, imperfect people. And so, as we look back at the creation of the Church, we must ask ourselves, how much of what we believe today is truly the result of Christ's teachings, and how much is the result of the decisions made by men, driven by power, politics, and personal agendas? The Catholic Church, with all its power, glory, and contradictions, is a reminder that even the greatest institutions are shaped by the choices, struggles, and flaws of human beings. It is a reminder that faith is not just a matter of divine will, it is also a matter of human agency. The creation of the Catholic Church was not a divine decree. It was a human journey, fraught with conflict, compromise, and betrayal. Yet in the end it became one of the most influential institutions the world has ever known. Its legacy is one of both spiritual inspiration and political power. And as we continue to explore its history, we must remember that the story of the Church is not just about the past, it is about us, here and now, as we continue to grapple with the same questions of faith, power, and authority that have shaped the Church from the very beginning. What will we do with this knowledge? How will it shape our understanding of the Church and our place within it? The answers to these questions will continue to evolve, just as the Church itself has evolved over the centuries. And it is this journey, this ongoing struggle for truth, power, and faith, that will ultimately define the future of the Catholic Church. As the early Christian Church grew in power and influence, the debates surrounding its doctrines grew even more intense. The political struggles that fueled the foundation of the Catholic Church were far from over. Now that the faith had been legalized, the question remained, who would control the narrative? Who would define the true essence of Christianity? These struggles were not just between the Church and the Roman Empire, but also within the Church itself. The fierce theological disputes among early Christian leaders about the nature of Christ, the role of the Holy Spirit, and the meaning of salvation were more than just theological debates. They were battles for the very soul of the faith. The battles fought at the Councils of Nicaea, Constantinople, and Chalcedon were not just about clarifying doctrine. They were about establishing authority. It was about who would hold the keys to power within the church. It was no longer just about faith. It was about control. This struggle for control would have profound consequences on the direction Christianity would take in the centuries to come. As these debates raged, the question arose, what was the church truly founded on? Was it based on the teachings of Christ, or was it the product of human political struggles as leaders jockeyed for power? These early debates gave birth to the very concept of heresy. The Gnostics, who saw Christ as a mystical figure offering secret knowledge, were one of the earliest groups to challenge the orthodox view of Christianity. They rejected the idea of a singular, authoritative scripture, instead advocating for a more personal, mystical connection with the divine. This viewpoint was a direct challenge to the institutionalized church that was emerging, a church that sought to create uniformity in belief. And so, the Gnostics were branded heretics. Their texts were destroyed, their teachings buried in the sands of time. But the Gnostic Gospels, hidden for centuries, would eventually be discovered, offering a glimpse into the diversity of thought that once existed within early Christianity. As these conflicts unfolded, the church began to form its own identity, and this identity was not just shaped by theological beliefs, but by political decisions made by its leaders. The growing influence of the Pope, particularly in Rome, played a central role in shaping the course of Christian history. Rome was not just the seat of political power in the Roman Empire, it was also becoming the spiritual heart of Christianity. The significance of the city and its role in the development of the Catholic Church cannot be overstated. The papacy, with its claim to be the direct successor of Peter, was more than just a religious position, it was a political one as well. The authority of the Pope was not just spiritual, but was intertwined with the power to govern vast swaths of land and influence the fate of kings and emperors. The papacy's rise to power was not without its challenges. Rome's position as the center of the Christian world was not guaranteed. Throughout history, multiple popes have claimed the throne at the same time, leading to divisions and power struggles within the church. The Western Schism, in which three different men simultaneously claimed to be the true pope, exemplified the deep internal conflicts that plagued the church. These struggles for supremacy between different factions and even within the papacy itself called into question the church's ability to truly represent the teachings of Christ. As the church solidified its position of power, the question remained: how much of what we know as Catholicism today is truly based on the teachings of Christ, and how much of it was shaped by the politics of power? The answer is far from simple. The creation of the Catholic Church was not a divine blueprint. It was the result of human decisions, driven by both faith and political necessity. This is not to say that the Church's teachings are any less valid, but it is a reminder that even the most sacred institutions are shaped by human hands. But amidst all the power struggles, there were moments of divine inspiration, moments where the Church truly did reflect the teachings of Christ. The lessons of humility, love, and service, values that were central to Jesus' ministry, were not lost entirely. They became the foundation upon which the Catholic Church would build its legacy. Yet, even as the Church became a dominant force in the world, these core values were often pushed aside in favor of power and control. The Catholic Church's history is a tapestry woven with both light and darkness. It is a story of faith and ambition, of spiritual devotion and political maneuvering. But in the end, it is a reminder of the power of belief and the lengths to which people will go to shape the world according to their understanding of the divine. The creation of the Catholic Church is not just a historical event, it is a story that continues to unfold today. Its legacy is one of both triumph and tragedy, of divine grace and human failure. This journey, from the shadows of persecution to the pinnacle of political power, reveals a deeper truth. The Church is not just a spiritual institution. It is a reflection of the very human condition. The struggles, the contradictions, the moments of profound faith and deep failure, all of these are woven into the fabric of the church. And as we look at the church today, we must ask ourselves, how much of what we see is truly the result of Christ's teachings, and how much of it is the product of human hands? What is the true legacy of the Catholic Church, and what lessons can we learn from its long and complicated history? The answers to these questions will continue to shape the future of the Church and its role in the world. For the Church, like humanity itself, is a work in progress, a constant struggle between faith and power, between divine will and human ambition. The history of the Catholic Church is not just a story of the past. It is a living, breathing narrative that continues to unfold, one decision at a time, and it is a story that perhaps will never truly be finished. Rome, the eternal city, the seat of empire and power. Why did it become the center of the Catholic Church when Jesus, the very figure who inspired the faith, lived and died in Jerusalem? The answer is not just rooted in spirituality, but in politics, strategy, and the deep desire to unite an empire. Rome was not simply a geographical center. It was a symbol of universal power, the heart of the Roman Empire. To establish the church in Rome was to claim a seat not just in the heavens, but also on earth. It was a decision that went beyond religious conviction. It was a decision to build a bridge between the spiritual and the political, between the divine and the imperial. The Church's decision to anchor itself in Rome was not born from divine prophecy, but from the ashes of Roman politics. As Christianity grew, the faith needed more than just believers. It needed a powerful institution to weather the storms of persecution and later to dominate an ever-expanding world. And who better to lead this institution than the very city that ruled the known world? The bishops of Rome, who claimed to be the direct successors of Peter, would rise to power not only as religious leaders, but as political ones. The papacy, from its earliest days, was not just about the spiritual welfare of the people. It was also about holding sway over kings, emperors, and empires. This strategic move solidified the position of Rome, and the papacy would become the political and spiritual center of Christianity for centuries to come. But the journey to this dominance was fraught with challenges. Rome wasn't just handed this power. It was earned, fought for, and at times, violently seized. The power struggles within the Church, the rise of rival factions, and the many conflicts over who could claim legitimacy as the Pope all shaped the future of Christianity. Imagine a time when three men sat upon three separate thrones, each claiming to be the rightful Pope. The Western Schism, three popes, three claims to supreme authority, tore the Church apart. But through this turmoil, the papacy grew stronger. It weathered the storms of doubt and division, emerging as the singular symbol of Catholic unity. The question remains, what does this tell us about the nature of the Catholic Church? Is it truly a divine institution, or is it the product of human ambition and struggle for power? The answer is complex. The Church was not just shaped by the teachings of Jesus. It was also shaped by the very human hands that wielded power in his name. Rome became the center not only for its strategic political advantages, but because it allowed the Church to claim power in ways that transcended religious boundaries. The papacy, as it grew, became a force that could dictate the course of nations and empires. And so, as we look at the Church today, we must understand that its position as the spiritual center of Christianity is not just a product of divine will. It is the result of centuries of political decisions, struggles, and power plays. The authority of the Pope, the position of Rome, was not handed down from on high. It was fought for, established, and cemented through a mixture of divine inspiration and human ambition. Constantine's conversion to Christianity was not just a turning point for the faith, it was a turning point for the world. His Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity, did not just end persecution. It opened the door for Christianity to be used as a tool of empire building. Constantine saw in Christianity not just a path to salvation, but a means to unify an empire that was tearing itself apart. His conversion, while claimed as an act of faith, was as much a political move as it was a spiritual one. And as the church gained power, so too did the political influence of its leaders. The conversion of Constantine changed the course of history. It gave Christianity the ability to grow beyond the confines of oppressed communities, and it provided the faith with the support of the most powerful empire the world had ever known. Yet, despite this divine opportunity, Constantine's life reveals a paradox. He may have embraced Christianity, but he also held on to the pagan practices of his ancestors. His conversion was not purely spiritual, it was strategic, it was pragmatic, it was a means of survival and control. And in that survival, Christianity became not just a faith, but a tool to solidify the power of an empire and a religion. But what did this mean for the faith itself? Constantine's role in the Church's history is a stark reminder that power and faith are often intertwined. The decisions made in the early years of the Church were not just about theological purity, they were about power. Who would wield it, who would control it, and who would claim authority over the faithful? Constantine's decisions, and those that followed, laid the groundwork for a church that was not just a beacon of spiritual light, but a force that could reshape empires, control kings, and dictate the course of history. Rome, the empire's heart, became the church's heart. The papacy grew from the ashes of division and conflict to become the center of Catholicism. But as much as it was divinely ordained, the papacy was also shaped by human hands, by decisions made in the heat of power struggles, by politics and diplomacy, and by the desire to control not just the soul, but the body of the empire. The legacy of Rome as the spiritual center of Christianity is not just a tale of divine inspiration. It is a story of human ambition, strategy, and power, a reminder that even the most sacred of institutions are shaped by those who hold the power to shape them. As we reflect on the rise of the papacy and Rome's dominance, we must ask ourselves, what is the true nature of the Catholic Church? Is it a divine institution ordained by God to lead his people? Or is it a human institution built by the decisions, ambitions, and struggles of men and women who sought power in his name? The truth is, both. The Catholic Church, as it exists today, is the product of both divine guidance and human ambition, a reminder that the greatest institutions are built not just on faith, but on the choices we make, the power we seek, and the legacies we leave behind. In the midst of the towering cathedrals and the ancient halls of Rome, there lies a hidden truth about the Catholic Church, one that stretches far beyond its doctrines and rituals. It is a truth that goes beyond the teachings of Christ, a truth forged through centuries of human decisions, struggles, and power. The Church, with all its power, glory, and influence, is not just a divine institution. It is a reflection of humanity's deepest ambitions, fears, and dreams. And just as Christ's teachings illuminated the darkness of the world, so too did the people who built this church create their own light in the midst of chaos and conflict. As you sit here thinking about the vast legacy of the Catholic Church, consider for a moment what it truly represents, not just a beacon of faith, but a testament to the human spirit. The Church was built not by divine command alone, but by the hands of men and women who fought for control, who struggled with doubt, and who strove for unity. From the early days of persecution to the rise of the papacy, every moment in its history was marked by the weight of human choice. What is the true essence of the Catholic Church? Is it a divine creation guided by the hands of God, or is it a human creation shaped by the hands of men? It is both. The struggles that defined the early church were not only theological, they were deeply political. The power to define Christian doctrine was fought for in council chambers and amidst fierce debates. The decisions made at the Council of Nicaea, the rise of the papacy, the shifting alliances, all of these were shaped by human ambition, even as they claimed to be acting in the name of God. And in the midst of all this, what was left behind? A legacy of faith that has shaped the world for centuries. Yet for all the grandeur and authority that the Church holds today, there is a raw, humbling truth. The Church is not perfect. It is a product of both divine inspiration and human imperfection. Just as Christ's message was one of compassion, humility, and forgiveness, the Church's story is one of grace and redemption, a reminder that even the greatest institutions are built upon the shoulders of those who make mistakes, who fall short, and who rise again. This truth, though often hidden beneath the weight of centuries of tradition, calls us to look deeper into the essence of the Church and its role in our lives. The question we must ask ourselves is not simply about the history of the Catholic Church, but about its relevance today. How do we, in this modern age, interpret its teachings and its power? What does it mean to be a part of something so vast, so entrenched in history, yet so deeply personal? The journey of the Church, from its humble beginnings to its place as the largest Christian denomination in the world, is not just a story of religious conquest. It is a story of humanity's pursuit of meaning, purpose, and connection. And it is in this pursuit that we find the true power of the Church. Not in its buildings, not in its rituals, but in its ability to touch the lives of those who seek answers, who long for truth, and who desire to connect with something greater than themselves. As we reflect on this journey, let us also consider the lessons we can learn. The Church, for all its faults, is a testament to the enduring power of faith, the ability of a community to come together despite their differences, and the potential for transformation. It is a story of resilience, of overcoming obstacles, of rising from the ashes of persecution to become a force that has shaped the world. But it is also a story of humility, of understanding that even the greatest institution is made up of flawed individuals. And it is in this humility, in the acknowledgement of our own imperfections, that we can find healing, grace, and redemption. So, as you reflect on the legacy of the Catholic Church, ask yourself, what role does it play in your own life? How can its teachings, rooted in love, forgiveness, and hope, guide you on your own journey? The Church is not a perfect institution, but it is a living testament to the power of faith, the strength of community, and the healing power of love. And in this journey, we find our own story woven into its fabric. If this video has brought light to your heart, if you've felt a spark of understanding or inspiration, I invite you to share your thoughts with us. Every word you share, every comment you leave, adds a piece to the ever-growing story of faith that connects us all. Your support means the world, not just to me, but to everyone seeking truth and healing in this journey. I ask for just a moment of your energy, a moment of your support, so I can continue bringing these stories to you, stories that challenge, heal, and inspire. Every contribution, no matter how small, is invaluable. You are part of this story. Thank you, from the depths of my heart, for being here.